At BEMA, we make it a priority to give our members opportunities to listen to their customer. Today, we've invited David DeCesare from Panera Bread and Michael Fronczak from Dawn Foods to join us for a discussion on flexibility. David began his baking career at 16 in a farm store and bakery. He briefly explored the IT arena, but found his way back to baking and attended the Culinary Institute of America. David joined Panera Bread in 2012, where he's able to use his bakery and pastry skills to research and development in new products and to support baking operators in the field. Michael is the Director of Engineering at Dawn Food Products. Before, he spent 11 years in the automotive industry in a variety of engineering roles. He joined Dawn in 2009 and quickly moved into engineering manager at the York manufacturing facility to plant manager in Ontario, and then to his current position in 2012. We look forward to hearing from you both and see what the guests have to say. I'll turn it over to our moderator, Mark Ungashik, to get us started.
Good morning, BEMA and friends.
Good morning.
Clearly, I could use a little more flexibility. And these two gentlemen are going to help us with just that. So Jeff's already done the introductions, and I believe, Michael, you're going to go first. If you would, tell us a little bit about yourself, Dawn Foods, and your role within Dawn.
Sure. Again, good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Fronczak. I'm the Director of Engineering, overseeing the 8 U.S. manufacturing facilities. I'll give a quick presentation about Dawn's history, past, present, and future. And with that, we'll get in and have some discussion around the flexibility piece. Again, most folks have known us from the baking business, from the donut business, actually. We started off as Century Bakers in 1920. Short time later, Marlon Jones was employed by the company and later was given the option to purchase stock into it and later bought it all out. So in 1949, that started, and in 1956, the Jones family was the owner of Dawn Food Products. Today, we're on our third generation of Jones family. Carrie Jones Barber, who is our CEO, is one of Ron Jones. Again, most of you in our conversations over the last couple of days have met. She's her daughter, and throughout the organization, there are some third and fourth generation folks working through there. So again, it's great. Been around for 94 years this year. Third generation, we're up and running and strong. So for most of you who do know or don't know about Dawn Foods, again, started way back in 1920. A lot of our growth and acquisitions were done over the course of about 70 to 80 years. With that, we have grown leaps and bounds, and over the last few years, we've actually right-sized a bit as well. So where we had a large footprint of maybe 18 bakeries in North America, like I said, now we're down to about 8, with the addition of 1 in Mexico and 1 in Brazil. Also, over the last 10 to 13 years, we've done a lot of acquisitions overseas and strengthened and enlarged our global footprint as well. So again, not only are we here in the United States, we do business in over 70 countries worldwide. One of the things, and for those of you that have ever been to our corporate office or any of our facilities, is our circle of excellence. And this is really the key around Dawn. You know, the people, the products, and the customers. You know, each one is a key part of the other. That's why it's in a circle. You know, great people at Dawn. The products that we make over 4,000 products worldwide. And again, the customers, the folks out there, the bakeries, the retail, everywhere else that purchases these products is what generates and keeps us going as a company. So again, 4,200 people worldwide as employees or team members, as we call them in Dawn, over 4,000 products, 19 manufacturing facilities worldwide, a large distribution network, again, for folks that know of us. And you know, we're again continuing and keep growing on that presence. The division I work for, as I mentioned, is the U.S. Bakery Products. Again, we're made up of 8 facilities, ranging from wet, dry, and frozen products. Everything from sales and marketing, manufacturing, commercial development, and again, operations. I work up with our operations team supporting our facilities. Most of you, again, Dawn Foods, that donut presence. 1920, that's what we started, was the donut mix. We didn't want to sell that formula, kept it in-house, grew, and I'll say the rest is history. But with that, again, there's a lot of other products that we make in our dry manufacturing lines. Cake mixes, brownie mixes, streusels. Again, I'm sitting next to Panera and our partner. We do products with and for Panera, again, based on their excellence and their expertise. Some of our other pieces of our business, again, are our wet manufacturing. I'm guessing somewhere along the times of your life you've eaten a cake with our icings or with our fillings, or a donut that's had our glaze on it. Over the last 24 hours, as I've had the opportunity to meet with some of you, I've was told about the IBIE show and the products that how every morning you'd line up and get the donuts. Well, again, that's where I started, and some of the other products that go in it, and that's why we're all a little robust in here, as well. Lastly, and I won't get into all the details or go through all the products, but we have a frozen side of the business, and again, cakes, brownies, cookies, laminate doughs. Again, everything from the sweet bakery side and a little bit beyond is what we make in our facilities. And again, I'm guessing that everyone's had one at some time or another. So again, right now, again, our footprint, 8 manufacturing facilities in the U.S. 4 of those are what we categorize as the frozen manufacturing, Atlanta, York, Pennsylvania, Manteno, Illinois, which is not too far from here, and Mexico, Missouri. And then we have the 4 ingredient plants. 2 of them are specifically dry manufacturing, and that's in Jackson and Seattle, and then our wet and dry facilities in Louisville and Denver. So, between those 4 facilities, or those 8 facilities in the U.S., we turn out a lot of product, a lot of great things, again, both for our partners here in the room and for others throughout the country and world. And it's just in a great evolution for us. One of the other pieces that I've mentioned is our international presence. Again, we are manufacturing in the U.S., Mexico, Brazil, and in Europe. We also have a joint venture in Oman, which is with a partner called Swan. And again, with that, over 70 countries that we ship and distribute and sell our products to, so very large footprint for Dawn Foods. Just to give you an idea on the next couple of slides with the presence and the map, here's our main distribution outlets, our manufacturing. Again, what we refer to as we're right-sized now based on the capacities and the volumes that we can produce. We're spread throughout the country geographically in key areas. And then lastly, from an international standpoint, again, we're pretty much everywhere. We've made and shipped products pretty much everywhere, every continent, with the exception of, I'm guessing, Antarctica, but throughout the world, Dawn is there, and we look forward to being there for the next 94 plus years, into the next generation or several generations down the line. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And by the way, I've been to Mexico, Missouri, and we consider that international. Okay, same thing. David, hail to DeCesare. You're up next.
Excellent, thank you. Thankfully, doing the limbo isn't a prerequisite for being up here, because you would have heard crickets from the middle chair for sure.
We heard.
Yes, my name is David DeCesare. I do research and development for the bakery side of Panera Bread. So that involves coming up with new ingredients or new products, new flavors to existing products. We also have tests going on in different markets throughout the country, and we get feedback from the field and figure out what's working, what isn't, and we help support those initiatives as well. I know a lot of you are familiar with Panera, especially from the folks I was able to speak to this morning. A lot of you have visited our cafes and know a lot about what we're about. There is some vague lines out there, like there's this company in St. Louis that looks like a Panera, but they're a different name. And that goes back to some of our roots and where we start. Back in 1981, we were founded by Ron Shake, and the company at that time was Au Bon Pain. Au Bon Pain has bakery cafes that did very well up and down the east coast of the United States here, as well as internationally. Fast forward 12 years after developing that brand, they found this St. Louis bread company out in St. Louis doing a lot of the same things that they were doing at Au Bon Pain, and said, hey, let's get in on this and see what's going on with them and how we can bring some of our learnings with Au Bon Pain to St. Louis bread and try and grow that as well. So they purchased the 19-unit St. Louis bread bakery cafe chain. 4 years later, they were able to take that St. Louis bread company and increase the volumes of those cafes by, I think it was by something like 75%. And they said, hey, we've got a business here. This is the future of what we want to do in this space. And they put Ron Shake and his management team, most of which are still with us today, the guiding principles of Panera, decided to put all of their time and resources into the St. Louis bread basket, pun intended. So in 1999, focusing on St. Louis bread, they decided to sell off the Au Bon Pain properties. So that's domestic, international, as well as their manufacturing pieces. And with the expectation to grow nationally outside of St. Louis, with that came the name change to Panera Bread. So in St. Louis, they retained the St. Louis bread name. Outside of St. Louis, we are Panera. 2007, they've same sort of circumstances as earlier. They found another bakery cafe chain, this time out of the Southwest, out of Arizona, another bakery cafe, about 70 units. And they said Paradise Bakery and Cafe. And they invested heavily into this concept early on, and then by 2009, they ended up buying the entire chain. So today, we operate under the Panera Bread label, which you're all familiar with, I'm sure. St. Louis Bread Company is still out there under St. Louis Bread, but looks like Panera, feels like Panera, same menu as Panera. It's just localized for our roots. And we still have Paradise Bakery and Cafe, mostly out west, and we're actually starting to turn those over into the more of the Panera soups and sandwiches, and getting more in line with the menu that the rest of the company has. 1,736 bakery cafes. I think that's a number that comes from Q3 last year. So 5 months later, we're actually closer to about 1,800 bakery cafes. We haven't crossed that threshold yet, but any day now. We're across the United States. We do have one market up in Canada. It's a small market. We started maybe a year and a half ago, but we're developing that area now. And you can see on the last slide, with our roots in baking, Panera was founded on a commitment to baking fresh bread and bakery items daily at every location. And that's some things that I think a lot of people don't realize, is that Panera bakes fresh bread every day at each location. Okay, it's not bread that's par-baked or baked somewhere else and trucked in. We bake at every location, which brings us up into the present and how we're manufacturing and distributing all of these loaves of bread, essentially, to all of our cafes. We have 23 fresh dough facilities, FDF for short. And these fresh dough facilities serve all of our almost 1,800 cafes. The largest FDF is up in Franklin, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Boston. They're one of the oldest FDFs. In addition to I think it's 150 cafes in that market, we also do all of the tuna fish production for the cafes across the country, as well as our cream cheese blends come out of that facility, making it the largest volume produced for sure. They have 2 bread lines, 1 bagel line, 1 roll line. We have starters that we mix every day. We have liquid levain tanks for starters for our fresh bread. So not a whole lot of quick doughs, just add yeast and go. These are, fermented to get those flavors and leavening. Once these doughs go through our bread lines, we have several mixers, 2 horizontal mixers, a bunch of spiral mixers. In this particular location, the other 22 are similar, maybe not as high a volume, but we mix doughs daily, divided, shaped, put onto trays and pushed into a cooler. It's a humidified cooler to keep things moist so skin doesn't form over the top of the bread. And then from there, overnight, there's workers in our cooler that are packing these loaves into cabinets that get delivered to each of our locations in that market. So there's a big logistical piece there. In addition to the fresh dough that we manufacture ourselves, we have scones and muffins and cupcakes and a variety of other sweet goods that go along with that. As Michael touched on earlier, we develop most of our own products, but we then use vendor partners to help us create those and get them into our system, into our cafes. Don being one of the largest vendor partners that we have for manufacturing of our sweet goods. And just a few fun facts about Panera. We have 6,000 bakers across the country, which makes us the largest restaurant employer of bakers. We have several dozen varieties of breads, about 12 varieties of bagels, and we go through 150 million pounds of flour annually. So there's a lot of volume coming out of Panera Bread bake shops. At the very bottom of the slide, one of the things we're most proud of is our day-end donation program. So all of this bread that we bake for our cafes, anything that doesn't get sold is not wasted. It gets donated to food pantries or other charitable sources in those areas. So again, thank you for letting us take part, and I look forward to a few questions on the system.
I'll remind you said that. Okay, thank you very much, Michael, David. By the way, donuts and croissants are at the base of my food pyramid, so you guys are very close to my heart. Question regarding flexibility in your operations. If you had to list the one thing, whether it's your frozen operation or your dough operations or your fresh operations, what's the one thing that would keep you up at night? Your operations.
The one thing. Well, thankfully I'm R&D, so I sleep like a baby. But I know for our manufacturing plants have a number of different issues that they deal with, but equipment is big. Equipment needs to be running 2 shifts a day, every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So when the machine goes down, we're stopped producing. So that's one of those immediate things that would put a wrench in the works, so to speak.
Thank you, David. Okay, Michael, I'll bet you don't sleep quite as well as David does.
No, it's the R&D guys that keep us up at night. So
That's right.
Now, similar to what David mentioned, with 8 of our facilities, and as I showed on the slide, Dawn has grown, and its footprint is mostly via acquisitions. So we have a number of different infrastructures in place, a lot of different equipment in place. So there's not a lot of that synergy between facilities, although we're making the same types of products. But again, as we get, with our older facilities and that equipment reliability, that is a concern of ours. Again, it's the worst thing is, when you get a call and find out that one of your facilities is down or one of your lines is down for an extended period of time. It does keep us up at night to figure out how we can come back and prevent that problem from happening again, and again get our products out to the customers, because as we stated, that's how, that's what keeps us in business.
Yeah, I just remembered, I forgot to mention one thing. Before I came up to Chicago, I stopped at the doctor to see if I had a sinus infection. Instead, I was diagnosed with leprosy, so I hope I didn't shake your hands, did I? Okay, good. We're okay. Okay, moving on. Our audience is primarily suppliers.
Right.
And as suppliers, we like to think that we listen to our customers, right? But for the two of you, if you had a magic wand, what would be the one thing that you would change or that you would want us to hear?
I think with with that note is, again, first off is patience. I know Dawn has worked with a number of the suppliers in this room, and sometimes we put you to task and don't always come through for one reason or another, but it's for that bigger picture, and I think the patience aspect of it, and as we grow and put together our long-term plans, is then take that patience and think of the long-term reward of a partnership with Dawn Foods. That's what I, foresee with that magic wand.
Fair enough. David?
Yeah, I would agree with most of, if not all of that. I would say that timing and communication of timing is a very key thing. So we're a very large company, and we need to be able to plan things and react to things, and if it's going to be 2 weeks out, it's 2 weeks out. If it's 2 months out, it's 2 months out. If it's 6 months, it's 6 months. But just stick to those timelines. And if there's something in there that's going to mess up that timeline, just communicate and let us know so that we can plan for that and figure out a way around it.
We'll try to listen and remember these things. So I know your end customers are constantly making changes in products and what have you. And it seems like flexibility might be the enemy of efficiency. How do you balance that in your operations?
It's not an enemy if you can plan for it. Panera does a great job of turning over products regularly. There's a core base of products that are on our menu all the time, but just about every 2 months, every 8-9 weeks or so, we shake up some of those seasonal varieties. So we take a few things away, but offer something new to keep it fresh, and hopefully that flexibility to create and substitute new products on a very continuing basis sort of answers those needs or those wants that our customers have.
Fair enough, and that's quite a bit of change. And
Yep.
Michael, since he's one of your customers, how do you answer that?
Very similarly, again, change is, it has to be something that's adopted and understood and respected. It makes our life difficult at times because of our infrastructure, the type of equipment that was set up years ago. But with that, again, it's that driving that flexibility into our manufacturing stream, having the know-how, the marketing trends, the information to help us make the right decisions early on. And, again, from there we can hopefully adapt and react accordingly. And most likely, if we can be proactive on it and set up for the future, that's our best bet.
Okay, a question just for you, Michael, just for you. As we've noted over the recent years, expectations on the ROI of capital equipment purchases have changed, and how does Dawn view that issue? Where do they sit on ROI expectations?
Again, it's something that's looked at. It's not the major driver. When it can be, that's something that we will fully evaluate in our capital request process. Capital is not always the easiest to come by, and when it is, we have to make sure we're thinking, again, short-term, long-term on that approach. But ROI is one consideration that we take. But if it's a customer requirement, if it's food safety, if it's building our infrastructure for the future, then that takes precedence over the ROI factor.
Thank you. Next, David and Michael, where do you stand on the death penalty and gay marriage? What? Mike Cornelis, did you stick that in there? That's a different presentation, sorry.
I'd rather do the limbo.
As I'm sure would Michael. Okay, if you look at your production lines from back to front, what's the one area that gives you the most heartburn or the most challenges?
I think on the back end or around is talking about flexibility and being that key piece here is having that flexibility built in. Again, our customers are asking for more, a lot of different varieties, a lot of different packaging concepts. From the front end, we do have a lot of things in place, but it's that back end that really concerns us because, again, one day you want to, take cakes. You want a single serve cake, and the next day it's a fully sliced cake, or on our ingredient side, it's the same thing. You want a little pouch, a large pouch, a 2,000-gallon pail of a specific icing. So it's having that flexibility built in on the back end of the operation.
David?
Yeah, for our manufacturing, we deal with all live doughs, all yeasted products, and the big key factors for that are time and temperature. So the ability to, for our mixers, because there's a human element to all of this. These machines don't run themselves. But it's to stay on top of, today it's a 600-pound batch, tomorrow it's an 800-pound batch. So mix times vary, friction varies, heat varies, how much, how cold does the water have to be, how much ice do you put. So it's these variables around mixing the dough to the right temperature and then maintaining the right temperatures throughout the line. If it's going to sit on the floor for half an hour rather than 15 minutes because they've got to block down the line somewhere, that dough is getting warmer and staying longer. And maintaining refrigerator temperatures and humidity and time and temperature. All about the dough.
Sounds simple, doesn't it? Okay, both of you. I know both of you were able to attend IBIE in 13. Just if you could just share with us some of your general impressions.
It's a very large show, for sure. I needed sneakers to go
we
through
like that,
all
by
of
the
those
way.
rooms. I'm sure. For R&D perspective, to have all the equipment, all the ingredients, just everything you could possibly want. Packaging is there. Anything that we would have to do to run our business is there. If we ever had questions about anything that we would needed, for the future, we met somebody there who can help us in the future. So I thought it was a great gathering place for all of these sources and minds and problem solvers.
Michael?
Being a first-time attendee at the last year's IBA, again, it was a bit overwhelming. Met a lot of great folks, learned about a lot of new equipment. It was more perhaps reflective of our frozen ingredient business or our frozen manufacturing business. If I had to say there was a small shortcoming, it was around this ingredient side. Didn't see a whole heck of a lot, on our wet manufacturing processes, but overall, the dry side and the frozen side, I think the group that was there was excellent. There's a lot of great innovation that was available for us to review, and again, a lot of great and intelligent people for us to talk with.
And we can expand on the wet side in 16. Did you guys both notice, all of you out there, that when he said minds and he said intelligence, they both looked away from me? I think we have time for two more questions, one relating to international. Clearly, I know you have significant operations internationally, and so I'll ask you to lead first. Just talk a little bit about your expansions internationally. Michael.
Again, over the years, we started off with a couple of bakeries or frozen manufacturing in Europe. Over the last few years, we purchased or made a large acquisition with Unifine, which is again into the ingredient and that type of manufacturing. But again, one of the things that we're seeing is there are different tastes, different things that the international customers want. And also where we have a great leverage is the fact that there's also a drive for the American bakery product line in Europe. And being a family-owned company that's been around for 94 years, we have a lot of great experience in that. So as we continue to grow and reach out to Europe and the rest of the world, we have a great foundation to go off of.
Okay, and David, we consider Canada to be foreign but not international. Sorry, Patrice. Can you share with us any plans outside of Canada?
Not really, to my knowledge. I can say that I think any company would love to break into new territory and find new customers and new ground. So I certainly wouldn't rule it out, but I do not have any inside information at this point.
Fair enough. And one more question, and this will get to our earlier topic. If there was one area in your production facilities where you could attack the idea of being more energy efficient, where would it be? And I'll start with you, David.
Yeah, good question.
Well, thank you.
I would say probably everywhere could be attacked to be more energy efficient. And that's not that we're not looking at it and not trying to be. We do have a department that looks towards green initiatives and our recycling program and our packaging, but energy efficiency also comes along with that. Unfortunately, I'm not in on a lot of those conversations, so I'm not sure how far down the line we've gotten to implement some of these things. But I know there's heat exchangers out there to pick up some of the heat from your refrigeration and using that to heat your water. And there's a lot of valuable resources out there that I know when I go back, I'm going to ask the question and find out what we are doing and perhaps reach out to some of you folks that are doing that and see how we can be better. Michael
might have a suggestion.
No, same thing. Dawn has recently kicked off a sustainability team. I also sit on that committee as well. But as we're looking at it from a manufacturing operations side, over the last year, as we're making our capital investments, it's again working on the infrastructure. The presentation that was given this morning around the green and what's being green, the compressed air studies, the big wasters. I appreciate that information because it's more information that I could take back and, again, to David's point, reach out to some of you, the experts in the industry on that. But we've been trying to attack some of the low-hanging fruit, the things that are, I don't want to say easy or less expensive to implement as we go and look at our long-term investment plan and strategy. But for example, last year we installed a new oven in one of our facilities, and again, as we're doing things along those lines, we're taking into account the natural resource benefits, electrical, gas, flexibility within our manufacturing facilities with that technology, and really just trying to get to the level that we need to be so that we can tout that we're a green manufacturer to our customers, because to the point earlier, they are asking.
I know there are several mornings when I got up and looked in the mirror and I felt I was being green. I think that's all the time we have. We do want to get on to lunch, but I want to thank Michael and David, and I'm going to bring Jeff back up here to kind of do a close, okay? Thank you very much.